I am trying to build my dream NES collection in 2025, but I have a question. Why is it so difficult to collect for the NES in 2025? This year sees the 40th anniversary of my life, and 2025 sees the 40th anniversary of the iconic Nintendo Entertainment System. And to celebrate these two milestones, I wanted to build my dream NES collection and prove the only reason we grow old is because we stop playing. This is the NES Top 40 at 40. Hello again folks, and welcome back to the NES Top 40 at 40. My mission for 2025 to try and build my dream collection of my top 40 most wanted NES games to celebrate both the anniversary of one of the most iconic consoles of all time and the anniversary of myself. But over the course of the year, it is seemingly getting increasingly hard to find NES games in the wild. And this time we are going quite literally anywhere and everywhere to try and find NES games and try and answer the question, why is it so hard to collect for the NES in 2025? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. I want to invite every single one of you to come and join the Dan the Gamesman family. We are building a community. You get exclusive videos, behind the scenes sneak peeks, the never before heard or seen over 18s, not suitable for work, Dan the Gamesman podcast, and so much more, including coming soon the announcement of my biggest ever project for 2026, and we are building something massive. So click the description for this video, get your free 14-day trial, and come and join the family. Now on to the NES hunt. But first things first, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed some subtle changes here in the games room. The first of which is, without a shadow of a doubt, my best vintage find of 2025 so far, this Nintendo sponsored football shirt. But that's not all. We finally have these arcade lights up on the games room wall, and this is the perfect way to display our NES collection so far. Now, I'd love to say I put these up, but we all know by now my wife is the DIY expert. There's loads of cartridges and box games already here on these shelves, so without further ado, let's add some games to the collection. We're starting our NES hunt this time in CEX, which is of course a fantastic place to hunt for both modern and retro games. But more often than not, when we are hunting for retro, they're going to be hidden in the glass cabinet of dreams. And here in Bury St Edmunds, they had a really good selection of retro, including a boxed NES game, which we picked up earlier in this series, but loose. But that was really cool to see, as well as a really good selection of general retro here, including some more boxed Nintendo cardboard, GameCube, Mega Drive, Master System, Sega Saturn, even Sega Mega CD. A little bit of everything. But this time we are going to be hitting up a lot of CEX stores. And next up was St Albans, a much smaller store, but it still had a really good selection of retro in the glass cabinet of dreams, including not one but two very minty looking boxed NES games. Now, these are two games that aren't on our list of 40 games we're trying to find. We will always pick up other games along the way, but for the box price, I decided to leave these ones behind. But spoiler alert, later in this episode, we have some amazing minty boxed NES goodness. Next up was Hatfield, and this was a slightly larger store in an absolutely ginormous shopping centre. And once again, there was a really good selection of retro here in the glass cabinet of dreams, including this game right here for the NES, WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage. Now, I didn't pick this up because I already have it in the collection, and quite randomly, when I first started collecting for the NES, I only collected boxed games, which is kind of a good thing now with how prices are. On to our next store, and unfortunately in this store there were no NES games, but this store will feature on an upcoming episode of the Crazy World of CX, because trust me, here we managed to find one of the craziest retro finds I've ever found in any CEX store. Which brings us to the final CEX store we'll be visiting this time, Colchester, and our last chance to find an NES game to cross off the list for the NES Top 40 at 40. Now, I straight away managed to find this game here, Tiger Heli, which I think I have played before, but I didn't pick up that game. That's because hiding here in the glass cabinet of dreams was not one, but two NES games on the shelf down below. Hiding behind some of the N64 games was this game here, which I don't think I've ever heard of, and this game, which is on our list. Here we are then, back in the games room after visiting countless CEX stores, but thankfully it wasn't in vain, as we have this NES game right here in the official Nintendo dust sleeve. This is Life Force Salamander from the mighty Konami, and this was a golden age of Konami games with that trademark silver sticker on the cartridge. And spoiler alert, this isn't the only silver sticker Konami game we are adding to the collection this time, but stick around to the end of this video as we will play every game we pick up this time here on the NES Top 40 at 40. Sticking with the CEX theme, next up we have a CEX Roulette. Now this is a game which isn't on our original list of 40 NES games I wanted to add to the collection. But this is a game from a company, Rare, who I absolutely love, that I never knew existed until recently. I think this was announced as part of an Evercade cartridge maybe, I'm not sure. But as soon as I learnt of the existence of this game, I was like, I had to grab it. And I think at the time this was the only copy on the CEX website. So this is a loose NES game, but of course it needs to be in good condition. So let's just rip into this one and find out if we've got a win or a fail here on the CEX lottery. And straight away, this is packaged really, really nicely. Can I tell where it's from? This was an £8 game, and spoiler alert, this is packaged very well and looks to be in incredible condition. It is Cobra Triangle. So unfortunately, no dust cover, but sticker wise, that's an absolute win. That is really nice, really minty, really bright, and as I said, for £8 for a game I'm very excited to play at the end of this episode. Very happy with this CEX Roulette win. I have visited multiple independent gaming stores over the past few weeks on the hunt for NES games. Starting off here at Omega's Emporium in Attleborough, but it only had a very small selection of NES games. The owner actually said he is having a real problem trying to source NES stock at the moment. Next up, we're off to a store which I did an in-depth video of quite recently, GG Trading Cards and Collectibles. And trust me, go back and watch that video here on the channel, especially if you are a Pokemon fan. Be it Pokemon cards or Pokemon games or even Pokemon consoles. This store had, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best Pokemon selections I have ever seen, as well as a really good selection of NES bangers. Starting off with this game right here, Yoshi's Cookie, one of the first puzzle games I ever played back in the day on the Game Boy, I think it was. Now this one wasn't on the list. I already have a boxed copy once again in my collection, so I did pass on this one. But hiding in the glass cabinet of dreams, there was another NES game, which once again, unfortunately, I do already have in my collection, boxed and complete, Castlevania. A game which is a real thorn in my side at the moment, as I've been replaying some of these early Castlevania games and they are nails. But make sure you go and give GG Trading Cards and Collectibles a follow over on Instagram. Their store is always getting in amazing new stock. But we have one last stop, this time on the NES Top 40 at 40. So it's time to wave goodbye to Snorlax and hit the road to our final shop. Our NES hunt this time concludes right here in the fine city of Norwich at Sutton Toys, a store which has recently moved premises to this new location, and you can see they are settling in well. This store is already absolutely crammed with not only some of the best retro toys available, but more importantly for today, an incredible selection of retro video games. Now, I follow the store on Facebook, as should you, and recently I saw they have got a delivery of absolutely incredible retro, including loads of Nintendo cardboard, N64, SNES, Game Boy, and most importantly for today, some boxed and loose NES bangers. Let's add some to the collection. Here it is, a thing of absolute beauty. The NES console, the orange-barreled, iconic Zapper, and most importantly for today, loads of loose and boxed games. And these boxed games were in absolutely incredible condition. Now, they did have a copy of Star Wars for the NES, but it didn't have the instruction manual. Otherwise, I would have been very tempted by this one. As like I said, these games were in incredible condition. Like, check out this game right here, RC Pro-Am, one of the best games I discovered through this series, boxed and in mint condition. But here is a game we've been trying to pick up off the list for a long while. Gradius or Gradius, however you pronounce it. And for £10, I thought this was the bargain of the day, but this was the bargain of the day. A mint CIB NES game in 2025 for just £12. It goes to show, folks, the deals are still out there, and even though NES hunting is getting harder and harder by the day, the hunt continues. Here we are then, back in the Games Room after visiting a handful of some of the amazing independent local gaming and toy shops I have in my surrounding area. And remember, support your local store. They need us now more than ever. And we have not one but two pickups from Sutton Toys, which is an amazing store which is recently relocated here in the fine city of Norwich. The first game is a game off our list, another Konami silver sticker banger, another shmup. This is Gradius or Gradius, I don't know which one it is, but again, as I said earlier, it needs to be said again, this was a golden age of Konami, especially for shmups, so very excited once again to play this one. But this isn't the only game we picked up this time from Sutton Toys. Now, most of the time here on the NES Top 40 at 40, we will only pick up loose cartridges because at the end of the day, I just want to play these NES bangers. But every so often, you get an offer which is too good to refuse, so you pick up a box game, such as this time. This game I picked up from Sutton Toys for the bargain price of £12. Shadowgate CIB for the NES, and this is one of the mintiest NES games I have seen CIB for a very, very long time. It even has the hang tab on the top of the box. I don't think I've ever seen a box NES game with the hang tab still in place. Now, I know very, very little about this game. The owner of the store actually said this is supposedly a pretty rubbish game, but for £12 for a CIB with a dust sleeve and the manual, again in minty condition NES game, I'm very happy to take a risk on this one because the condition of this was just too good to pass. Which brings us on to our final pickup this time. And talking of too good to pass, this was a deal too good to pass up. Now, throughout this series, I've tried to find the majority of these NES games in the wild. Tried to stay away from Evil Bay, but this was a deal too good to pass. And this was a game on our list, and it continues this episode's theme of silver sticker Konami bangers. A game I'm very, very excited to play, Probotector. So this was released as Contra in the States, and as you can see, this is CIB, and once again in absolutely incredible condition. This did come with the box protector, but just look at this one, and I'm actually surprised how well this came due to the delivery. This was stuck in a plastic envelope with no protection. Ironic for a game called Probotector, but yeah, this is in absolutely fantastic condition. It is complete. The manual is in here. The cartridge stickers in fantastic condition. It even has the official Nintendo dust cover there. The manual is really, really nice. It looks like it's never been read. And this, off the list of 40 games I wanted to find throughout this mission, is one of my most anticipated games to play. And of course, today, I finally get to play it. Over the course of this episode, we have managed to find some incredible NES bangers to add to the collection, be it loose cartridges or boxed bangers. But the question from the start of this episode I was trying to answer was actually incredibly simple. There's a simple explanation to why NES games are so hard to find in 2025, and it is basically deep rooted in this entire challenge. And this became incredibly obvious when I spoke to my good friend PS2 Mini Games. Adam basically said, what do you expect? These games are 40 years old. And that's when it dawned on me. Every year it's going to get harder to find NES games. Like Adam said, most of these games are 40 years old. They've either just been lost to time, broken, or they're going to be in people's collections already. So if you've ever been on the fence about collecting for the NES, time may be running out. And don't miss your opportunity to collect for one of the most iconic and fun consoles of all time. Join me and hunt for NES games. There we have it then, folks. That was another episode of the NES Top 40 at 40. And not only do we have 3 loose NES cartridges to add to the collection, we also have 2 boxed minty bangers to add to my ever-growing NES collection. And even though it seemingly is getting harder and harder to find these NES games, find them I will, and I'm going to love the journey along the way, and especially experiencing some of these games for the first time ever after a 40-year wait. And I'm literally going to jump into these games right now, and I hope you join me. If not, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, life begins at 40 and we only grow old because we stop playing. See you all soon. Hello again, Future Dan here, getting ready to play some NES bangers. But unfortunately this time, regardless of how many times I have blown this cartridge, I have cleaned the console, I have cleaned the connections, I cannot seem to bring Life Force Salamander back to life. And I guess this is an issue for games which are, like myself, pushing 40 years old or older. Unfortunately, the Life Force has given up on Life Force Salamander. But fear not, Life Force Salamander may have given up, but we still have our second pickup from CEX, this time Cobra Triangle. Or do we? Unfortunately, once again, I couldn't breathe or blow life back into Cobra Triangle, so unfortunately this time the 2 games we picked up from CEX have been, unfortunately, CEX fails. Thankfully, it's a case of third time lucky with Gradius or Gradius. Please let me know in the comments down below how you pronounce this one. And finally, we get to play some NES games this time. And I'm a big fan of shmups. This is where I basically learned to play these kind of games back on the 8-bit days. I felt a little bit slower back then, and definitely, as I'm now in my 40s, I prefer the kind of slower pace of some of these games. So, we are going to go through these games for a couple of minutes each, and I will basically decide whether it's worth you picking them up. And straight away, I die, and it's a yes from me. This is a really good shmup, and you know, I don't know what I was expecting. It's Konami, it's early 80s, it's going to be good, even though it's actually surprisingly hard, even though, like I said, these are moving slightly slower. But you know, look at the sprite work on this, beautiful 8-bit graphics, beautiful 8-bit chiptunes. Honestly, what more can you ask? And also, in a nice twist for a game from this era, surprisingly forgiving, it actually has some decent checkpoints, even though I'm not exactly doing too well here. But this was the thing about this era of gaming. It was pretty brutal, as you can see there, but yeah, definitely would recommend Gradius or Gradius. Let's check out Shadowgate then. So remember, this was just £12 for a CIB NES game. Oh, let's actually continue on it. Let's see how far the previous player got to. So this is kind of a point and click. So let's have a look at the skeleton. A lime covered skeleton stares at you through eyeless sockets. Okay. Let's try and take whatever's in the skeleton's hand. You can't reach it from here. Swimming the shark-infested pool would be suicidal. Yep, that normally is. Which way do we need? I think we need to move. Let's try and move towards this door over here. You're standing in a dark underground cabin. Yep. Why is the music suddenly got very exciting? I feel like I need to get my sword out. What is going on? The way up this stairway is obscured by a landslide. Oh no. Cold water cascades down a cliff into a small stream. Let's leave. You can't drop, but you can't... Oh, okay. I suppose that's the thing about these kind of point-and-click adventures. If you don't really know what to do, it can get very, very confusing. Seems to be wasting my time. Yeah, I am, but the music's getting way more anxiety-inducing. The door is opened. Right. This music's actually quite horrible. Let's try and hit the landslide. Can we hit the landslide? We can! Pow! Take that landslide. Ow. Oh, that did not go as well as I planned. This is one of those... Okay, this music's making it way worse as well. I'm really actually... This music's actually making me very anxious. Right, I'm going to just try and leave here. Oh no, there's actually a shark in here now. Subterranean cavern has been carved by centuries of supernatural erosion. I want to hit the shark. Okay, probably would have been a better idea to play this from the beginning, but do you know what? Other than any incredibly anxiety-inducing music, I actually really enjoy this game. I can't do that. I don't really know what I'm doing, but this is definitely one for £12. I'm going to be rediscovering and hopefully replaying from the start very soon. Our final game this time is Probotector, aka Contra. And this was from an era of old school hard. I've actually been playing a lot of old school Castlevania this past few weeks, and it has been kicking my you-know-what. Like, this era of gaming was all about memorizing enemies, knowing when to jump, when to duck, bits like that, and just... it's about getting good. I ain't talking about a Dark Souls sense. I'm talking about you just have to memorize these levels so much because everything is out to kill you, as you can see there. And this does have co-op. Oh, I thought it was still on the low level. This does have a co-op, which would probably make it a lot easier. But I am playing a lone wolf today. The most important thing to remember in Contra is to duck, and the shots are going to come from every which angle. It's especially these turrets, which are a pain. So you can shoot every direction except for you can't shoot down. And this being an old school Konami game, the difficulty is high. That's what I mean. I ain't going out like that. Right, try that one again, because it was that big turret that took me out right at the end. Right, so concentrate. As with all of these games, it is one mistake and you are out of there, folks. And I am not going to make a mistake this time. One of the advantages is you can shoot as fast as you can pull, or should I say, press the button. Ah, I missed that break. But like I said, this is from an era when they wanted these games to be hard because they wanted these games to not be completable in one weekend. So you had to go back to Blockbuster and buy these games again or rent them again. That's how they made money on games like this. But this, owning the game means I have a while to get good at this one. It's another one of those giant turrets. Right, we're above giant turret this time, and what we're going to do is we're going to drop down. Our plan also did not work. Right, what we're going to do is jump this giant turret. We're going to jump here. Right, now we're getting into the platformy bit of these games. That's my 3 lives, isn't it? As I said, we have to get good. Right, no prisoners this time. Absolute Rambo through this level. Get as many upgrades as possible. Don't lose to any of the basic little enemies. Dodge the turret. This is what it was all about in this era of gaming, was memorizing, but I should double jump there. Memorizing where the enemies are coming from. Memorizing what's going to happen. Just learning the patterns of the enemies. I'm really going to get that power up, so hopefully I can go back and grab that. Waiting for enemies to drop down. like I said, I've been playing a lot of old school Castlevania these past few weeks, and you'd think I'd be getting better at these games, but unfortunately I'm not. We're only playing this for about 5 minutes today, and this is a game you cannot master in 5 minutes. Oh, I so nearly timed that. Right, jump quicker. Right, this is where we got to last time. This is how these kind of games work. Game over. No. And this is the entire thing of these games. This is the generation of just one more try. Now, I said I've been playing a lot of old school Castlevania this week. What I didn't say is I'm not very good at it. I've been stuck on the second level of Castlevania Rondo of Blood for quite a few days now, and I have got fairly annoyed by that game, but that is the thing of these games. This is the era of one more try. I will keep trying this level. I've only tried once more here on the video, but this will be my afternoon now, just attempting to get through this level. Because this is, I wouldn't say it's bullet hell, but there's a lot going on here. And the thing is, a lot of things, they will basically lock onto you. And a lot of these things are very, very hard to kill. So we can kill the big turret of death. Right. The thing I really want to do is get that guy! Right. I'm getting very determined. This person must be killed. Remember, I've only been playing for 5 minutes, folks. And in that 5 minutes, I got killed by the same guy most times. But, like I said, this was the era of just one more try. And of course, I'm going to be giving this one more try. I might just call for a little bit of backup. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. And as always, keep playing the game. See you soon.